Right, so welcome everybody. Let me start my screen share. Strategy Task Force Session 14. Welcome. So as always, if you are here for the first time, you like to be a part of the Strategy Task Force, just put your name in the chat and what assembly you're on. And we welcome all our state assemblies who's participating here today. Put your assembly name in the chat. I like to keep track of who's attending. Model counties, so welcome you here today. You always are welcome, whichever meeting we're doing. I know we're on I'm on an opposite schedule, meaning this meeting is Strategy Task Force, all the entire project. And then next Sunday, it's going to be focused just on the model counties and then alternate like that. But you're welcome to attend all of them. And go ahead and put your name in the chat and the county that you're on. And to follow up with that, if you are here and you would like to be the model county for your state, go ahead and put your name in the chat and the county you're on and that you would like to know how to be the model county for your state. There is nothing vetting, no extravagant list of things or requirements to do that. All I require for a model county is that you're willing, your assembly is willing to put forth the effort to do the outreach that's necessary to get your county assembly and your national union state assembly standing and seated. And we're figuring that out as we go along. And in the chat, I think I put, if you're interested in that, I put our first agenda for the first model county meeting, for you'll know what we will be doing as a model county, so you can review that. So go ahead and put your name in the chat and that request there for me. So let's get started in the meat of things here. So the first thing we're going to discuss is number 3 here. It says most direct path to recognition, threefold. The purpose of the Resurgence Project is, one of the purposes is to get recognition as the American government from the American people, from our subcontractors, and from the world nations. The second objective for the Resurgence Project is to stop the criminal usurpation of our American government, resolve that systemic issue that's been going on for over 160 years. That's the 2 main goals of the Resurgence Project. I think I've identified the 3 main direct paths to recognition. I think I have. So I'm going to need you all I'm bouncing these ideas off of you so you can tell me, I think so too, or maybe we should add that. That's what the Strategy Task Force meetings are for. So these are, I'm calling them 3 direct paths to get to where we're trying to get to as far as recognition go. And we do them at the same time. One is organizing our towns. That has come to the scene here recently because of what I'm piecing together as far as where the recognition has to come from. The recognition has to come from the American people, and that's at a grassroots level. If we're not there in their faces, how can they recognize us, right? Because we're not even there. So we need to go down another level or go up another level from state to county to town. We need to get to that town level and get in front of the American people to get recognized. I'm going to talk about a few things at the think tank here coming up next week on some of the observations I've made that's helping me to develop and move my mindset into that next strategy of including those towns and focusing on those counties. We can't get to the towns unless we can't get to the towns until we go through the counties to get there. So here are some observations I'm going to highlight just a little bit here. I'll elaborate more at the think tank, outreach think tank meeting. But here are some 5 observations that I made and how I have decided to move forward with strategies, with my particular strategies in the Resurgence Project at this point. Number one observation, we organize local county assembly government at the same time as state assembly government. And I'm basing that on this article here says about counties. Here, Anna says it specifically. When a man from a LaGrange County, Louisiana, joins the Louisiana Assembly, it has two automatic impacts. Louisiana is repopulated, and LaGrange County is repopulated, both at the same time. As a result, your local government is being rebuilt at the same time as your state government. Your state government has international powers and is competent, that is, has the necessary jurisdictional interfaces and capacities to deal with the federales. I've been going back and forth with the concepts of seating your state first before focusing on your counties. I, from the beginning, was thinking, kill two birds with one stone if you're going to be doing it at the same time. And this is what Anna was saying right here. You're doing it at the same time, that your local government is being built at the same time as your state government. So that's the mindset I'm moving forward with right now. And that mindset comes up against this, the one that's prevalent right now that says, as a thing is bound, so it is unbound. And this is the article that talks about that. So I've been doing some research to try to make sense of this all. This particular article was populating your counties as you populate your states. And at the end of this article is where you have the maxim of law that applies, as a thing is bound, so is it unbound. It's in this particular article. What I'm finding when I'm going to try to study and make sense of this is the context of some things Anna is saying is different. It's not being captured, I guess. People aren't comprehending what she's saying, because when I go back to look, I'm like, that's not really what it says, how I'm reading it. So you all, your job here as the strategy task force is to tell me, no, Louise, you got that wrong. This is what she really meant there. Or, hey, this is another vantage point or something. That's what you're here for, because I'm bouncing my ideas off of you. So these two articles is where I'm trying to figure out, well, what does she mean by populating your state first, or this as a thing is bound, so it's an unbound? Well, when I read this article at the beginning, it says, as each American arrives back home and records their birthright, state, nationality,
Can't hear you. Louise, you froze up. You're muted, Louise.
Am I back now? Can you see me?
Or see you and hear you.
Okay, because you all went away for a moment. All right, sorry about that. So Anna has said in other articles that there's different avenues to declare your political status, like through the newspaper or through the county recorder's office. So not necessarily all only the state assembly. So this told me, oh, so we're talking about just people declaring their national status and coming back home. That's what this article is talking about as populating your counties as you populate your states. So as the American arrives back home, and then they record their birthright status, and then they notify their state, they automatically populate the county they live in. It only takes two to populate the county. And then she goes on, I'm gonna try not to go into too much detail right now, but then she goes on and talks about how you're populating the county the same time you're populating the state. The understanding that I'm getting from this article is just talking about you declaring your birthright status coming from the sea back to the soil. It is not talking about organizing your government. And like I said before, in my mind, I'm keeping those things separate because they actually are. When a national declares themselves, they did not join the assembly. And I'm doing like this because we always say they joined the assembly. The assembly is the government. No national has a duty to join the government. So what that national did was declared their political status is what they did. And by doing that, they're populating their county. Now you can say that county has Americans in it. You know how they were saying there's no Americans, they all went over the sea. She always says they're going over the sea, we're not even here. Populating your county means you are declaring yourself American, and now you are recognizable as Americans now on the soil who lives here in America, which is separate from organizing your county government or your state government. So these two articles is not talking about the same thing in my mind. Y'all can correct me if I'm wrong. Number 2, observation. Oh, I created a playlist for county assembly development that we've started. So I got that in here for reference. The second thing, observation that I'm making. Counties, nation states or republican states, which they are, county assemblies, call a continental congress, not the nation states, state assemblies. And I don't know if we got that right either. So these are the observations that I'm going forward with because this is what I'm comprehending and observing that's correct. It says, this article here, now what is needed is precisely what I said all along. People need to organize their county drill assemblies, organize their county governments, organize their states with the lowercase s, and eventually call a continental congress. One of the goals of the Resurgence Project is to ultimately get to that point where we call a continental congress and get things straightened out. In the state assemblies, I'm hearing how we're talking about calling our Congress when we get seated, when all our states get seated, but that's not where we call the Congress at, because that's the international land jurisdiction. Every jurisdiction have their Congress. And this is one of the articles that I reviewed that talks about all the different Congresses. And here, where it has the republics, national soil jurisdiction states, they have the Continental Congress, the states, international jurisdiction, land jurisdiction, they have the United States and Congress assembled. So if we now talking about, the states assemblies talking about calling a Continental Congress, then they will need to redirect their attention to the counties in order for us to do that. Third observation, our American government has 2 state assemblies, an international state assembly and a national union state assembly, which is new to me that Anna just introduced us to in one of our business meetings. So I graphed it here. I tried to graph here, starting to understand and see where the National Union State Assembly is in relationship to the international state assemblies are. This is just my first draft of it. It's not exactly right or approved or anything, but I know starting from the top, sovereign people, the American state nationals is where we start. Then they go to the towns. Then we go to the national level, which is the county assemblies. And then somehow from the county assemblies, we get to a national union state assembly. How that is made, I don't know, but I know she says there is a national union state assembly. Then somewhere from there, we get to a continental Congress. That is in the structure of the United States. Then we have protection and service pillars. Our international land jurisdiction is our protection for our county's soil jurisdiction. They protect us from those federales and those foreigners coming in to attack. They're our protection, and they provide services to the American people. That's where the three service pillars come from: the international business pillar, the General Assembly, and the
Militia.
militia. Thank you. Yeah. So I'm drafting out what that looks like so we can get clearer on what it is we are reconstructing. Fourth observation: your political status is not your defense against the de facto, before or after status correction, because they don't recognize us yet. It is their fraud and their misadministration that's our defense. Now, I'm using this article here where Anna, I'm going to go one step further than what Anna said in this. Anna was saying here that I realize that many of our people have been misinformed and presumed upon, and that jurisdictions is an important aspect of that paradigm. But for those who have already run afoul of territorial and municipal enforcement prior to adopting their political status, defense must be on the basis of the fraud and the details of the misadministration, not political status per se. I'm going to go one step further and say, even after you have corrected your status, your defense will have to be based on the fraud and the details of the misadministration. Why? Because they still don't recognize us in our proper jurisdiction as who we are as their employers. And that's why I've got a lot of these strategies in the project where we are trying and going to get our recognition. The fifth final observation: why I take liberty to change things. I told you all in one of the other meetings is that I'm going to take it upon myself to change things when I see these conundrums. Conundrums are things that looks contradictory. We use these articles and everything to lead us and how we're supposed to do things correctly. But when I read them and I see things are contradictory and I don't quite understand why Anna says this over here and it's different over there, I'll send her an email and say, this is conundrum. What does this mean? And if I figure it out on my own or think I figured it out, I just start changing stuff to make it consistent. And here's an example. So this article I ran across early on, and I was trying to understand the structure of our government. And it says, this is the article, The Way Power is Supposed to Flow. And it said land, government, people, townships, counties, all this. And that article, I know that this person who created this chart was using that article to create the chart, because that's what it looks like. And this chart was on TASA. That's why I discovered it. And I'm trying to study it as a teaching aid to know how our government is structured. But more and more I got into my studies, I'm like, this isn't right. I mean, it's causing me a conundrum. And when I notice how it's causing this chart and our American structure chart that has the American government at the top and the employees at the bottom, those three governments, the branches, that chart caused confusion to me too, from when I was reading everything in the articles and stuff. So I started changing that. So this is an example of how I'm taking upon myself to change stuff that's inconsistent, because as we go out into the public, they're going to look at these things and say, no, you all don't know what y'all are talking about, because you said this one place and you said this the other place. So we need to take upon ourselves to correct what's not consistent. So that's what I did. So with this chart, I said, well, people should be small letter P, because our government starts on the town or on the county where the lowercase p is. Then I said townships, and you can go back and look at the Strategy Task Force 13. I think that's where we talked about townships. Townships, I knew townships were, well, I thought townships were territorial or not American. I thought that, but this said it was American. So I'm like, oh, well, I was wrong. So then I asked Anna, how do we populate the townships? Then she says, townships are not American. So you see how I'm going back and forth trying to figure this out. And I knew parishes meant pope. So that meant city to me. But on this graph or this chart, we have de jure land government. City and townships don't belong there. And then if you call it land, in our vernacular, land is different from soil. So it should say land and soil, or just say government. I just put government. I said, well, we're not going to say land and soil because we already said de jure. I'm just gonna put de jure up against de facto and leave it like that. And so I just changed it to make it consistent with what most of the information is saying and what Anna was telling me. These are the types of things that I'm going to do as I go on, as I observe how one thing is different from the other, and try to understand the context of what's going on in the articles. And context of what's going on in articles is my example of the first one. One is talking about organizing your government. The other one is talking about declaring your political status. And that's two different conversations. So that's one thing that I think I'm going to do as far as going forward and thinking about the town level government. And there's other things that I did too. I'm just going to show you this for now. Anybody who wants to help me with this, I'm inviting you to help me. I'm going to add another brochure to the county tours. So when we go start touring the counties and talking to the towns people, I want one particularly for them. And this is what this one is for. 9 steps Americans need to take to self-govern. It can be called something different if we decide something different. But in this particular brochure handout I want to give to the townspeople is more like an instruction guide to tell them the steps they need to take for them to take control of their town and to start self-governing. So I got declare yourself an American, cancel your voter registration, assemble your townspeople, declare your self-governance as a town. So there's something official that has to be done for them to now be considered and recognized as an American town, as opposed to the townships and the cities and the village that's all around them. I don't know what that is yet, but it has to be done. Then number 5, take back your land and postal areas with your land patents, creating your own address and getting back to the rural routes. Elect your public officials. You have public officials on your town, public officials, county, state, and the federation public officials, because we have a president up there. Step 7, direct your service employees. That's your state of states, your county ofs, and all of them, according to their constitutional contracts. I was thinking about listing here what we won't be paying for and what services we will be doing ourselves. That was just the idea, because I think in directing our employees, we have to let them know what the terms, remind them what the terms of the contract is, and let's get back on track. That's what I was thinking about with that one. Step 8, perform your self-governing duties. So here's where I'm telling the American national, your duty as a juror, your duty as militia, your duty to report crime, keep the peace, obey the public law, tell them what the public laws are. And in the county tours, we're going to have the declaration of land law regarding the birth registrations and regarding the Federal Reserve notes. and the testimonies that we're going to tell them to put with those declarations and send them to the municipal and the territorial to tell them that they're not complicit. They're not going to be complicit with these crimes anymore. And as well as the criminal information notice of liability is going with that. Now I have here place usufruct process in every court case. I don't know if it's going to be the usufruct process. I just know that one is working right now. And what I want to accomplish with this one is empower every American to know that the courts, the administrative courts that we have now, how to empower them to put the court on notice that they are in fraud, or they are, basically in fraud. They're not even supposed to be here. So that's the type of, we want to take away the power of these courts. Yes, we got to organize our own courts too. That's one way we're going to do that. But at the same time, like I noted in the other notes, is their fraud is our defense. Their misadministration is our defense. So that's what I was trying to accomplish with that particular part. The last thing is stay on watch. Watch the hen house. We're going to be watching our American public officials, watching our employed territorial employees and municipal employees. The national, the sovereign, has to be the ones who watching this to make sure it doesn't go awry again. That is one of their duties to self-govern. That is the point of this brochure, is to get down to the level of the townspeople and tell them how to start self-governing their little town. Okay. My idea of a direct path to getting recognition is like going directly to where the recognition has to come from, which is the townspeople. The second thing, doing at the same time, is the branding convention for our official government websites. I actually think this one is really important. It sounds simple and unimportant, but it actually is it's really important. We don't have the official government websites to be recognized as an official government. They'll go online to look us up and they won't see the American government. So the conventions that I came up with, we're working on this too with the website development task team, who's now tasked with creating the official American government website. Well, a lot of different conventions I've been tossing around back and forth, but I think I've decided on this one. For the official American government website, the UnitedStates.gov.land as the official American government website. One, it has gov in it. All of our websites need to have gov in it to give it the initial credibility when people find us online. They will automatically convey some legitimacy to us as a government with those letters in there. Then our soil jurisdiction, I have Clark County, Nevada, or NB.gov.land. So whatever county you are, with your initials of your state, gov.land. That gov.land is the part that's most important. Then for the International State Assembly, the Nevada Assembly gov.land. And you can see how I'm putting gov.land in all those conventions to give the American people the opportunity at first glance to confer upon us legitimacy. And then, of course, our websites has to look like a government website too, but this is just first impression. The last thing in this threefold approach, like a direct path, you see, and let me know if I'm not thinking about this correctly, because I think that's a simple thing, but it's going to be a pivotal thing to the American people for them to see us with a URL with gov .land in it. Of course, .land is on there to separate us from the other jurisdiction. If it had .soil available to buy, we could buy that one, but it doesn't. The closest we get is .land. So the third one is directing the heads of our employees. So the heads of our employees is Trump, Department of Justice, and Department of State. There's a lot of things going on from that level that's causing us our problems on this level. So to get started with doing this part, I have two things that I'm working on. One is a training reference guide that the PKTF liaisons and the peacekeepers, continental marshals, and all of them will use as we interface our employees and we go out there to start building this relationship and informing them what they need to do to correct the situation. Along with us, we're going to direct them, you're going to listen, and we're going to get this done together. That's the whole, that's the goal. So I'm working on this reference guide so that it can be short and sweet, and it's going to be a poster type reference guide that when the liaison or the county sheriff go talk to their counterparts or to the governor or to the attorney general, they'll be able to leave it with them, have talking points on it so they can come back and have follow-up conversations. They'll also have other documents with them, but this is one of the things that I created so that it can have the important talking points on there. Now, the feedback, well, let me say this first. The reason I came up with this type of approach is because we are, as American state nationals, are being labeled as sovereign citizens. And Boyd had given us on the directorate this document of where their training is teaching them what a sovereign citizen is. And if you see these images, it looks like us. So they confer it upon us when they see us show them anything like this. So that's why I developed this our training reference guide to resemble what theirs look like. And then at the bottom of our reference guide, I have theirs, and to tell them current law enforcement training misapplied to American state nationals. This is also in your chat, so you can go over the details. The one thing that stood out to me in this reference guide of theirs, it defines what sovereign citizen is. Sovereign citizens are U.S. citizens. That's all I needed to know. I just stopped right there. Oh, are they? So clearly it states that the enforcement applies to U.S. citizens. U.S. citizens who claim to have special knowledge or heritage that renders them immune from government authority and laws. So this word, when we go out there to talk to them, we're going to bring it to their attention that this word does not apply to us. So we need to correct that error. So this document is to help accomplish that. And the boots on the ground, the assembly, the liaisons and the continental marshals, the peacekeepers, all our peacekeepers will be able to use this when they go out in the field to start this conversation with them. So I'm using this. Now, one of the feedbacks for this one was maybe we should add a terms list, a definition, define some terms. In theirs, they do have definitions of terms. I found that they did have this. I'm like, okay, so I need to go back and add in some definitions of terms. So in the little chat, you'll see that I got a second version of this and has some terms that I started to think about if it should be included and how it should be defined. This is where I need help on this one. What terms do you think would be best to be placed in this type of a reference guide? And what would be the definitions of them? There's a lot of terms I could think of, but we need to narrow it down to what we want the message of this document to accomplish. when we talk to them. So I put that in there in the chat for you all to look over that, but it's that this second version needs the editing on it as far as the terms go. And now the other parts of it that looks like it's finished, go ahead and look over that as well and let me know if some words need to be changed or need to be clearer on this part or something need to be added. Hopefully you don't see nothing that needs to be added because I've taken up all the space already. So go ahead. I'm still asking for feedback on it. In addition to this, yes, Kalina.
Just wondering, what sources are you using to define the terms and the definitions?
My head, that's what I was using.
Right on. Okay. Thank you. I yelled.
Some of it can't come out of my head because I don't know how to really define it. So we might have to go back and look at like Uniform Code of Military Justice. I don't know how to define that. I'll have to go and look back and see if we choose to use that word. Yeah. And then articles, use that, or anything. We can use anything to define the words, as long as we've defined them correctly. Mm-hmm. Now, in addition to this part, and this is phase 3 of the Resurgence Project. This is where this is used at the phase 3 level. Now, also on the phase 3 level, I want to, on here it says Department of Justice and Department of State. I created a letter, my initial letter, once, because of the issue that was happening to one of our nationals where they got put in jail and was labeled sovereign citizen, terrorist, and all this. We started to move on that, sending a letter to the Federal Bureau of Investigation and all that type of action that was taken on. So I was like, in phase 3, it's going to be the directorate who actually communicates and interfaces with their heads, the Department of State, Department of Justice, to try to get diplomatic immunity status recognition. So I devised this letter. I need your feedback on this as far as this letter go. The Peacekeeping Task Forces need to create a letterhead and all that. And I did send this, we did talk about this a little bit. But now it's your turn to look at this and tell me what you all think. Now, this letter, I laid it out this way because of this letter. You'll see in the chat, I got a second letter in there from the United States of America Department of Travel. And you see how this letter is laid out. And this is like an internal letter. So it was like the Department of Travel was sending a letter to the governor. The governor in whatever, North Carolina. The governor was not recognizing the American national, the foreign national rights in that state. And this is what the Department of Travel from the U.S. Department of State sent to the governor. So this is what I want to tell our governors. And this is what I want to tell the Department of State. And this is what I want to tell the Department of Justice on the same level that they're talking to themselves. So that's the background of how this letter was devised. If you'll read the language in the letter, you'll understand why I chose certain language in this letter. Regarding, so one is Department of State, the other one is Department of Justice. You all tell me what you think. So regarding breach of service contract, violations of U.S. Supreme Court rulings regarding citizenship versus nationality, and misconduct of your subcontractor, the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Because the Federal Bureau of Investigation is a subcontractor of the Department of Justice. So that's why I call it that. Subject, categorization of American state nationals as foreign sovereigns. That's what I want to talk about. Dear Department of State, Department of Justice, we address you under the authority and seal of the hereditary head of state of the United States of America, unincorporated, 1776, James Clinton Belcher. See attached our Declaration of Provenance. We want to communicate our concern for your breach in our service contract, the Constitution of the United States of America of 1789, and failing your duty to uphold the law of the lands, Bill of Rights for the American people. We want to turn your attention to the original Treaty of Ghent, from which this service contract derived, and we signed with your principal, the British Crown, currently King Charles III, which he's not a king now, I don't know what they're calling it, but wherein King George III explicitly recognizes our independent and sovereign nations no longer subject status. The gross misconduct of your employees, in contradiction and blatant disregard, is evident in their habitual misaddressing of our foreign nationals, the American state nationals, as U.S. citizens. This invites harm to be amassed upon many Americans across our country at the hands of your quasi-military policy enforcers and administrative courts. To be specific, the court cases are piling up. Then I thought it'd be good to list some of the court cases. Of course, not all of them is going to go there, but I kind of, from the conversations I got, I just threw some on here. Arkansas, like staking a property, they got a court case that has something to do with they wanted to stake their property. Oregon, child custody. Florida, eviction. South Dakota, mineral rights. North Carolina, traffic citation. Illinois, IRS tax fraud. Maryland, property tax lien. Maine, credit card fraud. Texas, DUI. Washington, mortgage. Georgia, pet not vaccinated. Alabama, farm foreclosure. Colorado, background check terrorists. The list goes on. So I want to use actual things that are happening, but I'm not trying to go into detail of that case or the situation. But I wanted to give them an example of the cases that are piling up against state nationals. Then I say the list goes on. A very concerning development is the creation of this label, sovereign citizens, by your subcontractors, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, to mean U.S. citizens who claim to have special knowledge or heritage that renders them immune from government authority and laws, as defined in your training manual, domestic terrorism, that's the one I just showed you. See attached. As you can see from the above list of court cases, it is causing undeserved mistreatment of Americans who are foreign sovereigns in respect to the U.S. government. Please provide us with within your training manuals that you outline your departmental procedures, education, and training for your employees that specifically clarifies, 1, how to identify foreign sovereigns who were born on one of the continental states of the Union, to parents born on one of the continental states of the Union, but are not U.S. citizens. 2, how to distinguish between nationals at birth versus citizens at birth of those born in the continental states of the Union. And 3, how to categorize the foreign nationals that includes the American nationals born on the outlying U.S. territories and the American state nationals born on one of the continental states of the Union. Department of Justice, Department of State, whatever their names are. We are happy to provide a training course for free to help your employees differentiate the indicators of sovereign citizens from those that are similar to our declared foreign sovereigns, the American state nationals and state citizens, who are under the jurisdiction of our American government. So not to confuse them with your U.S. citizens or your sovereign citizens who are under your U.S. government's jurisdiction. This will serve to repair our contractual relationship, will help to correct the gross misconduct of your employees, and will remedy the harm brought unnecessarily upon Americans. Please provide the requested clarification via mail or email at your earliest convenience so that we can work quickly toward a solution to afford proper recognition for a multitude of Americans who are suffering needlessly due to a presumably unintentional derelict in your duty to serve them. At your earliest convenience, we want to host a meeting with you to discuss this matter further, due to the fact that this has been a systemic ongoing issue for decades. We most assuredly will need to collaborate on the best, cost-effective, and thorough deployment strategies for these corrective measures. What optional dates and times would you be available to meet so that we can clear our calendars to meet with you? Thank you in advance for your cooperation and prompt attention to this matter. that's what I drafted to send to the Department of State, Department of Justice, and the governor. I think I got some CCs down here. Who else? Oh, President. Yeah. That's a lot, I know, to digest right now. So you might have to read that a little bit more. And if you don't comprehend what my purpose is and some of the wordings, because I did word some of those things a certain way because I wanted to say something in specific. And I think if I didn't quite say it, then I need to reword it. So this is phase 3. Now, if anybody want to, I know we had people who were interested in helping on the diplomatic immunity front to try to devise a strategy that we think will work. It's going to take more than one meeting. It's going to take more than one angle to do this. So if you can think of different angles or different strategies to get this specific thing done, that's what I want to hear. So those are the 3 direct paths that I see can actually accomplish what we're trying to accomplish with the Resurgence Project. Number 4 is the main thing that's going to be in our way in accomplishing what we need to accomplish in reconstructing our government. That's the internal conflict. We have conflicts between state assembly, county assembly, conflicts within the state assembly, conflicts within the county assemblies. That type of thing is going on, and that's going to hinder us from getting the reconstruction goal achieved. Now that I've started the model counties organizing, helping to organize the counties on the state, I had the first official meeting with them, and I hear they shared the different issues and conflicts that they were having on their state. So I sent the letter to Anna and Terry because I can see, this is one of the main things that's going to hinder us from accomplishing our goal, and it's going to slow us down a whole lot. So I'm going to read a little bit of the letter, and you can give me your feedback on it too. Parts of it I'm going to read. Okay, let me see. The one instruction that Anna gave about organizing the counties, but this is dear Anna and Terry. I talk about the conflict that I've heard about. Then I say, I would like to offer my help and my perspectives on how I propose conflicts like these can be resolved. The one specific instruction that Anna gave about organizing the counties is to make sure the county assembly don't infringe upon the state assembly's jurisdiction, and the state assembly don't infringe upon the county assembly's jurisdiction. So I will proceed with my proposition with that in mind. So I'm going to skip down. I'm skipped down to the points that I wanted to make. I said, I want to step back and because our assemblies are having similar conflicts, I'm going to step back to a broader view and offer some honest and humble observations of what I think is setting the assemblies up for this conflict to no fault of their own. Number 1, all of our state assembly seals have land and soil jurisdiction. The state assemblies, which is the instrumentality, have proceeded to have control and authority over the counties, which is the sovereign, ability and right to assemble. Whether that was intended or not, it is indeed playing out this way, as evident by what I am observing, particularly evident by the often repeated instruction that the state assembly has to be seated first before the county assemblies. The state assemblies are not being instructed on why these 2 jurisdictions need to be reconstructed together. Number 2, the state assemblies are being reconstructed in a vacuum, meaning they have no interrelationship with the sovereign counties as they are reconstructing to know what their structure needs to look like and function like. Every state won't look and function the same. In my observation, for example, neither a jural assembly pillar or militia assembly pillar can be stood up to seat the state without having the logistics to how they are to operate in real-time functioning. Neither of them can function in real time without the county assemblies and really the other layer, the towns, populated and functioning in an interdependency with their state assembly, their protector, their instrumentality. The state assemblies are now operating from a cookie cutter blueprint, which is necessary to inform us of how it was originally structured, but need to be customized to their state's own needs. What do I mean by real-time logistics in a vacuum? Let me elaborate in the case of the jural assembly pillar. While the states are creating their handbooks for court processes, the hinge factor to its successful operations is the jury pool. Where is the juror located? On the county. More specifically, the town. Are our jural assemblies actually mailing a call to jury duty out to the American State National, living where the incident occurred, and getting a juror to accept the duty and serve on the county grand jury of that case that originated in that county? Every court case originates on a county where our Supreme Courts are, not on a state. Now let me elaborate in the case of the militia assembly pillar. While the states are creating their handbooks for the militia, the hinge factor to its successful operations is in the actual militia, the people, that is organized where? On the county, more specifically on the town. Are our militia assemblies developing the networks for receiving a call for assistance from a county militia unit to assist the local towns in their emergency? These are the logistics that cannot be proven to work if there is no county assembly, no town network developed. So it is not in those handbooks. In this way, we have assembly pillar structures being created in a vacuum. These assembly pillar handbooks are incomplete, missing vital processes. It seems that our reconstruction is happening virtually, not among the living people. It sends a contradictory message to the American public that we are the land and soil jurisdiction. Then I mentioned 3 pathways here that I propose to seat our state assemblies. Each path has a specific strategy required to execute it successfully. I won't mention that here, but here are the 3 pathways that I propose that the counties choose to how they want to reconstruct. Number 1, International State Assembly will focus on their seatment first, so the county will focus on being in session and the outreach to bring in other available volunteers for the International State Assembly. 2, they could choose the International State Assembly seats at the same time it seats one county assembly. 3, they could choose county assemblies work together on standing their national state assembly. That word national state, that union state assembly, which I don't really know what it looks like yet, but there is one. Standing their national union state assembly at the same time it seats the International State Assembly. With these strategies, it would be ideal for the state and county to agree on a path together. However, the one thing about sovereignty, they can also agree to disagree and choose their own path for their own assembly, which needs to be equally supported and welcomed. It is possible that sometime down the road that sentiment will change and they will see the value in working together. Some of the assemblies already see this. So now, this is what I propose to resolve their conflict and similar conflicts from a broader perspective. Number 1, every International State Assembly change their seals or logos to say land jurisdiction and remove soil. Anna says there's actually a national soil jurisdiction Union State Assembly. I think that would handle some of this conflict. Number 2, every county assembly change or create their logos to say soil jurisdiction of the United States, not the United States of America, That's two different jurisdictions. What I was getting at here is we got the two jurisdictions together, but they're separate. At least we got them. I mean, that's how our government is set up now. They're separate. Number 3, our fiduciary instruct and emphasize the synergistic relationship that needs to be present between the International State Assembly and the county assemblies, what it looks like, and how the actions of each assembly interact like. Number 4, we make clear separations in the operations of these two jurisdictions if we're going to keep them. Anna has mentioned that we might decide later to have only one jurisdiction. For now, I propose we promote the reconstruction of the International State Assembly in the same breath as we promote the reconstruction of the National Union State Assembly. Number 5, the American state nationals who are in conflict on their state assemblies can be offered the task to consider moving their efforts and focus from the International State Assembly to helping to reconstruct their county assembly. I think we lose a lot of volunteers unnecessarily without this option promoted and given the proper consideration. Sometimes the conflict is really personal and the nationals don't work together well, and the relationship becomes toxic, leading to a cancer on the assembly body politic. 6, no assembly be labeled a district assembly who is constituted of American state nationals, properly declared, of course. We help them get properly declared if they are not. We give the needed support to get their elected officers properly vetted. It may be necessary to perform an audit on our assemblies from time to time to make sure specifically that their elected officials' paperwork that was filed is correct and their vetting was done correctly before labeling any assembly a district assembly. 7, the county assembly structure is not a duplicate or mirror of the state assembly structure. The soil jurisdiction structure is not a duplicate or mirror of the land jurisdiction structure. Now, what I was getting to there, I'm just going to elaborate a little bit. There's 4 pillars, but when you really look at those 4 pillars, you'll learn that they're not structured the same on the county. The county doesn't have a militia assembly. The county doesn't have an international business assembly. So they're not the same. We're saying they're the same, and we're going to duplicate the same on the county as we did the state, but they're not the same. We need to know what the differences are and correctly give the instructions on how to reconstruct the counties, or else we're going to be doing it. We're going to have more conflicts. We need to correct these instructions being promoted regarding this and separate the two jurisdictions and give them their proper places in our American government operations. Number 8, our fiduciary instructs us on what is a federation. The federation is the state assemblies working together, not Anna. A fiduciary is a hired office. We say we don't have enough volunteers to do the work that needs to be done. Some work that is pertinent to our proper assembling, like an audit, is not getting done because the volunteers that are working are focused on other priorities, duplicating efforts and expending resources when it would be best combined. They are focused on being independent and sovereign, not crossing into another state's jurisdiction. However, that is the reason for a federation and a confederation. We need a standard of what our priorities are for a solid federated reconstruction. Then I go on, I offer these perspectives and propose resolutions with my deepest humility and respect for all the work that you all do. I'm offering to carry some of the load with you. Pretty much it. And if I got this wrong, correct me if I'm wrong and how I perceive this. So this is how I perceive issues going on our assemblies, the conflicts that's going on our assemblies to no fault of their own. There is an innate conflict built in between the two that needs to be rectified. And that's the points that I was trying to get at. It's going to breed conflict if we continue to have it operate this way, or if we don't institute some operations that need to be in there so that the conflicts don't happen. Yes, Tim.
I totally agree, and I'm super happy that you're kind of pursuing this to give a pathway to correct it. And I think that that's what is needed. The other part that's going on is there's kind of like an old group that's been on the assembly, and then anybody that comes along after them, they look at as outsiders, and they kind of will do a division and labeling. And now there's more guidance than there used to be. And so somehow there needs to be some sort of an acknowledgement of not everything was known when this started that is known now. Like some of the path has been outlined and laid out for us in the How to Build an Assembly handbook. And so it's not a judgment on how things were done before there was guidance. It's just, here's what we see as guidance now and course correction to go towards the direction that we do have now, or as an assembly say, we don't want to do it that way. But that's what I'm seeing creating the conflict is if anyone's brought to task or said, hey, this isn't the way you're supposed to do that, they instantly go into defensive mode. So somehow we have to be able to communicate without going into a defensive mode that puts up a wall, and then the division and personality conflict occurs. So maybe if that could get acknowledged in the How to Build an Assembly handbook or in the response from the Federation, like how to handle conflict, and also what in conflict, like when you have vetting committees or you have ombudsman or any of these, if there's ever a conflict of interest, there needs to be a path to say, hey, there's a conflict of interest without offending people, and say we need a different route. So I think everything that you're putting forth in this is going to be super helpful, but there needs to be some sort of interaction so that between the state level and the county levels, or between, just state nationals and people that are involved right now, there's a way to resolve the conflict. And currently there isn't a great way. It just seems like the conflicts blow up, people leave, and then the next group comes in, the conflict blows up. It's kind of a cycle that's going on. It's not growth, it's stagnation, really. That's all I have.
Thanks, Tim. Now we do have a conflict resolution process, you all. Now it's supposed to be that your assembly has a marshal at arms, your assembly that keeps the decorum. Your assembly has an oversight committee to give oversight when a committee is not properly, you think a committee is not following proper process, or a national officer is not following their duty, following their roles and stuff for your oversight committee. Then you have your ombudsman, who's supposed to be there to hear independently and without judgment what the issue is, to help you to see if you can first resolve the issue, and if you can't, then bring in all the committee assembly of the committee and look that over and investigate it. So there is a process that's supposed to be on every assembly to handle the conflict. And I know some assemblies don't have those officers, or something is breaking down.
Yes. Yeah. And I think even if they have them, if there's a conflict of interest, because what we're experiencing is they'll have some of these committees, but once there's a conflict of interest, then it all falls apart, because it's such a small group that it's almost impossible not to have conflict of interest. And then we don't have if you don't have all the positions filled to begin with, you kind of need an outside arbitrator or moderator or way to handle things, because it can't be followed within your own assembly. So then you need a option 2. Is what we're running into. Thanks.
That was why I was the ombudsman, the International Outreach Ombudsman think tank is taking the task on where they can train ombudsmen, and they can offer that outside arbitrator for any assembly. So that's what we have put that in place, and they're working on that. And Deborah Ann's here. And one suggestion that I make I made, and I made this because, I made the suggestion because self-governance starts with self, self. So, and my motto for the project, to my my motto in this project to my model counties is practice self-governance and exhibit self-mastery at all times. If we can get it right with ourselves first, that also minimizes conflict. Raising 10 children, I get constantly, he did or she did. The first thing I say to them, okay, well, tell me what you did. And I start there. We look at ourselves first to see what we did, if we did anything. And on top of that, going further, whether we did it or we didn't do it, the second question is, how can I resolve it? And that's what the suggestion was, based on my suggestion to the ombudsman, to have this ombudsman service, is to help the national to be self-governing first. Yes, now I'm gonna say this caveat before I call on the next person. We're on this topic of conflicts. I do not want to hear anybody talking about their assembly's conflict specifically, or I'm gonna mute you, because that's gonna start a whole nother conflict. All right, so Denise, you go ahead. Rave, Denise?
Yeah, if Denise is not ready, I'm ready, but I can
Okay.
wait as well.
All right. Well, go ahead, Rave.
Oh,
All
I'm
right.
sorry.
Oh,
I'm
there she goes. All right.
Sorry. I thought I was hitting
Okay.
the right button there. So thank you, Louise. You're doing a fantastic job. I concur and echo every point of Tim Lee's discussion. I think it's fantastic. And we are also looking for conflict resolution. I love what you said about district assemblies. This is, I'm going to send you a paper tonight about what we have going on with district assemblies. And I think that this is also happening on other assemblies, but that is kind of like the new term. If somebody doesn't like what you're doing, they claim you're with the district assembly, and then they label you. And then you have to, then the label becomes real because it was done in a one-way court. And now suddenly hundreds of people are disenfranchised because they're being claimed as district assembly. So I did send you a remedy for that. And
Okay.
also, I do believe that there might be 3 go forward plans for option 1, option 2, and option 3. And I think that we need to kind of look at those a little more closely. And I yield. So thank you for a great job.
Thank you, Denise. Okay, Rave.
Okay, good evening, everyone. So I echo what Tim said. I echo what Denise said, even though I didn't get to hear her plan. The issue, in my opinion, and I wrote a few things down in the chat, especially for conflict resolution. So with conflict resolution, everyone who tries to, or who alleges that they have been wronged must write down, must be able to articulate that in writing. And the reason, and it can be 1 page. As a matter of fact, if they're going to reach out to an ombudsman or even the court of the assembly, I recommend that it is 1 page. They have to be able to write it down because people's minds change. They remember things, they forget things conveniently when there is a conflict. So if someone is going to bring a conflict, they must be able to articulate it in writing. Second, if the conflict of interest with the assemblies and the way that that we're supposed to keep the peace now is not really working because it is such a small group, as Tim said, and many times the conflict of interest are the people who are sitting in the official positions. So if they are in a conflict of interest with the people who they're supposed to be serving, that represents a conflict in itself, because it's not like one can go to the ombudsman if the ombudsman is flawed in his authority. No one can go to the marshal at arms if that marshal at arms is flawed in what they're doing. So what I'm presenting is that if we can articulate in writing what the issue is and the remedy for that issue, and in one page, just a one-page document, then it doesn't matter if we have an ombudsman, great, but if we don't, we can hold a court pretty quickly with the people of the assembly, with the people of the federation. It just depends on what kind of group we're working with. And I have wrote down a few things, or a path to that would, in my opinion, be easy to follow if we just decide, if we're able to understand there's a public and a private capacity. And if we're going to move in our public capacity, then we lose some of our rights to serve the private, to serve those who are the people. And I yield.
Mm. Rave, you gonna send that to me? Did you send that to me already? The
I
pathway?
have already sent it, but I will send it again.
Okay, thanks, Rave. Any other questions, comments? Okay. Okay. Deborah Ann?
Thank you, Louise. My question goes back to your upside down V people, the way you've transformed it. Because I think one of the things that I'm noticing as we're looking at these things, and you talk about a conundrum, is looking at that and actually differentiating the jurisdictions in that upside down pyramid. Because I think we've got soil jurisdiction on the three levels, on three levels at the beginning, and then it goes to state jurisdiction. And we need to be able to interface. And one of the thoughts I had, because of the PKTF, is it going to be possible to have a liaison from county to state and a liaison from state to county? And maybe these states need to have a county committee that works with the counties. Anyway, that's a thought, and I yield.
So a liaison that's elected by the county, whose job it is to liaison with the state assembly, international state assembly across jurisdiction. Okay. Well, I would think, I see who we got here. We got Bobby here. Maybe he can chime in. I would think that, I know that the PKTF is going to have county liaisons. And what liaisons do is interface with the other jurisdictions on behalf of the county. Bobby, do you have any input on that one?
Yeah, there's a thing I put up together incorporating this. It's more set up as an oversight committee, though, that has liaisons to basically start from the position you're talking about all the way up to PKTF oversight, consisting of the people who put that dependent power upon them. All right, so the chairman of that total oversight committee, right, I'm proposing would be, a federation direct or fiduciary direct liaison to be included with, the military liaison and, the fiduciary liaisons as well as an overall oversight committee. So it's very similar to what I have, just little tweaks, but I think everybody's on the right track. If I'll yield with that, maybe.
Okay. So yeah, he's talking about well, what Bobby is working on is talking about an overall umbrella to handle all the conflict. and even the conflicts of interest that we've been talking about that we experience on these smaller, smaller, larger, we experience on our assemblies. That's a big thing that we need to really look at, and he's working on plans for that. Let's see. We have Rave. Is your hand still up? Okay.
Yes, it was still up.
Okay. Oh, Tim.
Yeah, I agree with, what's her name, Robette, the one that was just talking?
Rave.
Or Rabe? Yeah, I agree with that, and I'm hoping to get a copy of that, maybe that same kind of communication, or if that gets massaged and reissued out to us, that would be helpful, because that's kind of the process we're going through right now, and I think it would be great if we come up with plan Bs and Cs for assemblies, because so many of the states are super tiny, with some of them being like, 2 to 12 people that participate. And, that it just makes a lot of these models that may work someday in conflict resolution not work today. So this might be something that could help, 40 or 50 states right away. That's all I had. Thanks. I yield.
Thank you, Tim. Rocky?
What I have, or what I'm thinking is that, of all of this conflict of interest and the things that we do to try to resolve
It's
it,
hard
right?
to hear you, Rocky.
Can you hear me better now?
Ooh, that's better.
What I was thinking is, because we're having all this conflict of interest, things that are actually going on, and we have a resolution, we come up with a resolution and do it. Is there some way or something that we're going to put into effect on how to enforce these resolutions?
So my first answer to that, the resolution you have first is, I'm assuming it's for your assembly. Is the resolution you have, is it for your assembly or as far as everybody?
Well, I would say for any conflict you have, it doesn't matter what state it is or county or whatever. You go through a process, either through ombudsman or whatever, and then you come up with a resolution to solve it. And say one of the parties or both the parties that don't agree and doesn't want to resolve that, how do we force that resolvement?
So,
Okay.
can I step into there for something that kind of relates to what I'm doing as well?
Yep,
Well,
go ahead.
So, this relates to conflict, right? So what do we do with conflict, right? We have to address it. What type of conflict is it? Correct? Is it, is it premeditated, malicious conflict? Is it accidental conflict? Is it uneducated conflict? What type of conflict is going on? So, how do you address that? A bunch of ways, right?
44
processes, you have to come up with processes, and the only way to do that is to use what we're doing now, because again, it hasn't been done in so long. So, things that are not right have to be pointed out, not to discredit or to look down upon or condemn, but to create processes that haven't been done, right? So you have to take the higher road and stand in truth and law, and in doing that, the things that are unnatural, that are patriarchal, let's call it, things that are not lawful but might be legal, disappear when we introduce these processes based on law, for living people and sovereign organizations. Okay, so with the different processes comes different time periods. So where are we operating? We're operating basically pre-constitutional 1775. So what are those processes? And how do they relate to what we're actually, the times that we're living in now? Because like Louise brought up, this is basically virtual, because we're not acting. Okay, you have to manifest this forward progress. All right. And the only way to do that is to, fortunately, bring everybody's traumas to the surface and just deal with them, because this is a rescue mission. We are not here to ultimately get rid of people. There is that, 5% that walk among us that are soulless. And yes, we get rid of them, but this is a rescue mission, man. We're not, you have to figure out what's broken to fix it, right? So, I mean, I'll kind of yield with that. If that helps anybody?
So I think, Rocky, you're talking about it's gone through the process that you have established on your assembly. Now you need to execute the remedy. But the people who's supposed to be the parties who have been tasked with executing the remedy is not doing their part. Is that right?
Kind of. The deal is like, you look at all the conflicts that all the states and other people are having, right? And what the problem is the people are not seeing a remedy, a way that we really are fixing this. You know what I'm saying? Even though we should be self-governed and we should be doing it ourselves, we should actually take the remedies and fix it ourselves. But I don't see that. And I don't think a lot of other people see that. Does that make sense?
Okay, so you're saying your assembly is not actually doing a process to fix the conflict.
Well, I'm not really just talking about my, the assembly I'm in. In general, I've listened to a lot of different states and a lot of different assemblies, and you hear about all the conflicts and stuff, but you really don't hear about how they're remedying it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
You know what I'm talking about? So what
just
I'm
in
saying is,
general.
if we can come up with a across the board way of how we're supposed to remedy things, and maybe get the people more involved to remedy these things and help fix it. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I'm just trying to come up with something that, because we're not like Bobby said, we're not trying to, make criminals out of people. We're not trying to, we're trying to build a government. We're trying to get it all working, and we have to work that together. And so how do we fix ourselves into doing that, right? So I don't know if it makes sense to you or not, but that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Okay.
Hey, yo.
Let's see, Denise.
Echoing again what Bobby and Rocky have said, and then they said it well. I guess our frustration is that the mass demorale, right? If people have no morality, they're basically like so fed up that they have essentially left our assembly. And then there's now a new dynamic as of last night, came across the email. It's like every day we're dealing with these new challenges. I'm sending this to you in private communication, and then hopefully you can help us with it. These are like overarching solutions that are necessary, and then other hopefully model counties that are going through the same thing will say, hey, we can look to this because it's happening here now. It happened to them 6 months ago. How do we resolve it? One huge step that you took today was identifying or misidentifying district assemblies. I mean, in Anna's article 3014, she clearly states who a district assembly is. Now that's been sort of like a new, catch term. And people are being not just character assassinated, but vilified over being on a district assembly, to the point where the whole 200, 300 people are being called district assembly. And, now that quote unquote district assembly is having a challenge from new assembly, and the new assembly's using a listserv that's being promoted. So it's just kind of another thing.
All right. Well, yeah, send me what you have. And
okay.
I'm going to take Rave's question.
Thank you.
I know we're getting down to the wire here. 3 more minutes. Rave?
Okay, so you ready?
Yep.
Okay, so I wrote a few things down. I'm having a hard time putting it in the chat, so I will try to do that again. The first step, and this is what I believe, because there can be many types of conflict. The only kinds we care about are those that cross over the law. So if you're doing something illegal, if you've done something to harm someone, that's what we care about. We don't care about hurt feelings. We don't care about anything else, but did it break the law? So number one, the man or woman must be able to articulate in writing the corpus delicti, presenting evidence of claim in the same document. Okay, that's number one. Number two, the accused must answer the claim made against him or her in writing, presenting the rebuttal or defense in the same, presenting the evidence of the rebuttal or defense in the same writing. That in itself, whether we have an ombudsman, whether we have just a jural assembly court, whether we have anything, we will be able to very quickly get through these conflicts because we will gather an understanding of what is unlawful and what is just something to get over. And once we get that understanding, we won't waste any more time because we have to be able to know what's unlawful and what doesn't matter. And I yield.
That's good. Something to get over. Just get over it.
Exactly.
Okay. Anything else? Any other questions before we leave? Oh, when we coming back? Let me see. Next strategy task force session is May 18th. That one is going to be for the model counties specifically. Then I was thinking about this to alternate when we alternate the model counties, then strategy task force session, model county strategy task force session. I was thinking that alternating week that we could do some more on phase 3. This is where Bobby and Boyd come in at. Where on phase 3 for that particular Sunday, we can get into more of the training of using the reference guide and how they're gonna, what other documents that they may take with them and going through some things like that. That's my thought right now, and I'm putting it out there to you guys to see if you think that that would be helpful for so at that meeting, we would have the liaisons, the sheriffs, the militia commanders, the continental marshals, the PKTF directorate, where we're going to be dealing with phase 3. The model counties is dealing with phase 1A, phase 2, and phase 1. So, yes. Bobby. Nothing.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry about that, Louise. I'm in Bobby's world over here. Do you have time real quick? You want me to show you what I have about the different types of congresses? Or I emailed it to you. Do you want, is that something you want me to go through now or?
Not now. It's time for us to go. 1 minute over.
All right, you're good.
Okay. We might talk about it next time. Next week. Because well, not next week, next 2 weeks. All right, you all. Well, you all, as usual, back and forth. You can tell me any ideas or anything. I'll check my emails and check the chat and see what feedback I need to get back to you and you get back to me. We do that in between weeks. Now, another thing I'm thinking about too is if we go to the model counties, the phase 3, model counties phase 3, I might remove that interim report that comes in between those two. I'm thinking about that too. So just to throw it out to you right now. So you all have a good day, have a good night, and see you all next time. Thanks for being here.
You too. God bless.
Thanks a
All
lot.
right.
Thanks, Louise.
Thanks, Louise.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Louise. That was great.
All right. Bye now.